You might feel a persistent unease that's difficult to explain. This can show up as health worries, panic, a sense of unreality, or a nagging question about meaning. You might avoid certain conversations, news, or quiet moments because they bring you face to face with something uncomfortable. The lingering awareness that life is finite. How do you feel when you reflect on the possibility that you might one day not exist? How do you feel when you consider how it might be to exist, but remember nothing of your current existence? What comes up for you when you consider that there is no way to conclusively know that you exist at all? For many people, this is existential death anxiety, a deeply human response to recognizing mortality and the uncertainty of non-existence. While universal, this fear can become overwhelming, shaping behavior, relationships, and mental health in ways that are exhausting and isolating. The fear of death is perhaps the mother of all fears. To be anxious about death is to anticipate that you or someone you care about will cease to exist, and that there is a high degree of uncertainty as to what happens next, if anything. Where do you go for help? Healing existential death anxiety does not mean removing awareness of mortality. It means changing your relationship to it so that life can feel steadier, more meaningful, and less governed by fear. Existential death anxiety involves recurring distress linked to an awareness of mortality and the uncertainty surrounding non-existence. If your fear is persistent, disproportionate to genuine danger, or significantly impacts your day-to-day life, you may wish to seek professional help, such as talking therapy. Death anxiety is not classified as a condition in its own right, but it's recognized across psychology as an underlying driver of several anxiety types. It might, for example, appear as health anxiety, or panic episodes, or obsessive checking or avoidance. It might be present as existential dread, loss of meaning, or spiritual crisis. It often sits beneath phobias, OCD, or trauma responses. The concept is grounded in terror management theory and existential psychology. A therapist can help you to work with your experience of symptoms of death anxiety. You are the expert of what it feels like to feel the way you feel and live the way you live. In therapy, your discoveries and psychological growth predominantly come from within you. You might notice a hyper-focus on bodily sensations or illness, an avoidance of aging, illness, or loss-related topics, a panic that seems to come from nowhere, a feeling detached, unreal, or existentially lost, a difficulty experiencing joy or meaning, a compulsive reassurance seeking, an oscillation between healthcare avoidance and over-checking. These patterns are often attempts to manage an unspoken fear rather than the true issue itself. Existential psychology proposes something counterintuitive. When safely approached, an awareness of mortality can deepen appreciation of life. This may be challenging to compute, as fear tells us to avoid engagement at all costs. It tells us that awareness of death can only bring more of what we don't want to feel, without ever testing this theory. Exposure to this fear with guidance and without meaning making often leads to a greater authenticity, as well as a stronger sense of purpose. An integrative approach to therapy allows the work to occur at multiple levels. If you take, for example, my approach, which integrates hypnotherapy with person-centered, exposure, existential, schema and transpersonal therapy. Person-centered therapy can embed a foundation of safety, trust and relational depth. Hypnotherapy can provide access to subconscious fear structures. Exposure and CBT therapy can reduce the avoidance and panic loops that occur. Existential therapy can reframe mortality as a source of meaning. Schema therapy can provide healing of early vulnerable patterns, and transpersonal therapy can help to explore, help to transcend the self and develop spiritual meaning. Conducting therapy online is not only as effective as in-person therapy, it provides accessibility and continuity from your own environment, which is often important when working with anxiety. The following practices are supportive, but they're not replacements for therapy. So first of all, we have mortality awareness journaling. So simply write for 10 minutes about what feels important to you in life, given that life is in fact limited. That's all. Number 2 is gentle exposure to avoided topics. So if you read or watch material that touches on aging or end-of-life themes in small doses, for example. Next, we have meaning mapping. Just list where you currently derive your meaning from. So it could be relationships, it could be creativity, the service you provide to others, or any combination of those. Just highlight what is important to you about being alive. Self-help isn't everything. So in those cases where it's not quite doing it for you, therapy can be really, really helpful. So for example, if your symptoms are persistent despite any insights that you might get, if avoidance that you have is shaping your daily life, if your panic or OCD or health anxiety dominates you, if you have a deeper exploration of meaning and fear that you want to gain, and if you feel isolated with your thoughts and concerns, therapy is here for you.